Ask not what we all be can do for you. Ask what you can do for we all be.
I'm with Dr. Faye Williams, the president of the National Congress of Black Women, and we're going to talk about a very touchy and sensitive topic today, which concerns promoting the name change of the Washington Redskins. And you wrote a very compelling article entitled Justice for American Indians, and also you're doing some other events as well in support of the name change. I just want to talk about this, like what's going on? Why do we need to change the name of the Redskins?
Well, you know, there was a time when black people were bombarded with offensive names. We were called all kinds of names, which I probably don't want to repeat on your station, so that if somebody hasn't thought about it, they won't use it. I mean, and these offensive names are used even against the President of the United States. The same thing happens with our Native American brothers and sisters. As you know, they're the original Americans, and we should treat them with respect, because we have this land because it was taken away from them. So many of them were exterminated. They were decimated. They were forced to leave their land. I know that, you know, my own mother is a mixture of Cherokee and Choctaw, and those are the two tribes that were forced to leave the South years ago, from the Deep South. So people were just displaced, and we see the same thing going on in cities all across this country now, with black people being removed from their land that they've had for years and years and years, simply because they can't afford to live there. So we have a lot of things in common with Native Americans, and I believe we should be supporting them. Now, I know there are always black people that you can find who will say that they disagree with it because they love the Washington Redskins, but I think it's because they don't understand the history of the name Redskins. Just like our parents have told us some stories because we were left out of history and we've had that word of mouth story. Native Americans are the same way. Their true stories have been left out. And one of the things that mothers have taught their children in the Native American community is of how the term Redskin came about. The Redskin is not an honor by any means. It came from a very negative situation where people would kill or they would scalp Indians or Native Americans in order to sell that scalp, and that bloody head, that bloody gory mess is where the name Redskin came from, the bloody part of it. So that's nothing to celebrate. So, you know, when we know better, we should do better, and we're learning that history of how that term came about. Sure, there are many black people who celebrated the Washington Redskins because they didn't know that history. I've had friends who played with the Washington Redskins. We were very proud of him. Doug Williams, as you yourself know. But the point is, in those times, we did not know the story of Redskins. And now that Native Americans are telling us it's offensive and we know the story, we know it is offensive. I mean, it would be just like someone referring to black people, you know, with a name like the lynch mobbers. We would not be very happy about that because we know that horrid story about lynch mobs. And so Native Americans are simply saying it's not a matter of we don't like football, but we just believe that that name is not appropriate for a modern National Football League team that already has all kinds of problems when you think about domestic violence. And now you come and you look at the fact that Snyder is saying that he will never change the name of the team. That's equivalent to his saying, I will never punish anyone for domestic violence. So we have to look at this in the context of where the name has come. And I think when we do that, we will be with our Native American brothers and sisters, and we will be fighting with them to get that name changed. So Dick Gregory, as you know, is a very good friend. He's a friend of mine, a friend of yours. And he has been with the Indians on this just as he has been on many other causes. So when the Native American community decided to have a protest in Minnesota while the Washington football team is playing there, and we learned that the women actually are leading the protest. They're some of the leaders in the protest for that. I represent an African American or Black American women's group, so it's only appropriate that I be there, that I stand with the women of that community and to help them and their families change something that denigrates them. I would expect them to be with me if there were a situation about racism against our people. So we shouldn't separate it and just be worried about what happens to us personally. We have to look at the whole term racism, the whole practice of racism, and see that it hurts anybody. Right. It doesn't have to be me personally, but I have to feel that pain of someone else who is being denigrated or discriminated against. And when we do that, will be just like that Indian saying is that when we come together as a group, we will be stronger than we could ever be, because as one, each of us can be knocked down. But when we come together, we're a tight-knit group and we can work and we can make a difference. And so I think it's incumbent upon Black people across this country to support the Native Americans in changing the name from the Washington Redskins, which is oh so offensive when you know the history of it, to something else. You know, it could be the Washington Obamas, or probably don't want it to be the Washington politicians, but I think if you said the Washington Obamas, Black people all over the country would probably come back out to see football no matter how much that game cost. And I'm just hoping that more of us will understand our need to get rid of that racist name and associate it with the lynching of our own people.
Now, what about, you got like the Chicago Blackhawks, you got the Florida State Seminoles, you got the Cleveland Indians. Do they find any other names offensive? Like, are they trying to change all the names of all these sports teams? You
know, actually, from my understanding, the Redskins, that's the team that's the only remaining one with an offensive name to our Native American brothers and sisters. Just like the Redskins were the last ones to get a Black player. We need to remember that. This is why I don't understand why Black people are so caught up on the Redskins when they had to be forced, by a government official, Stuart Udall, to actually get a Black player who happened to be Bobby Mitchell, who was from a Black school. And, of course, at the time, we were all very proud of that they finally got one. But we have to understand, they didn't do it of their own free will. George Preston Marshall had determined that it would remain white. He was happy with that. He even had Nazis out there marching, supporting him, saying things like, keep this team white. Well, it's the same thing when we as Black people go out there and say, let's not change the name of the Redskins. I equate it with that situation in the 1960s when there was another owner, and only because they were playing on federal land, which is what we know now as the Robert F. Kennedy Stadium, did the Redskins actually get a Black player. It might be all white today were it not for their being forced to do that. So why now are Black people caught up in supporting the name the Redskins? I fail to understand that. We've been this way before. Our people have been discriminated against. Our people have been moved off their land. So many of the same kinds of things that are happening and have happened to our Native American brothers and sisters are now happening to us. I mean, we're not over racism. As you can see, you turn on the television any day, not your program, not your radio program. Turn on the television any day, and you will see that there are people who cannot adjust to the fact that a smart, wonderful, genius of a Black man is president of these United States. But it's true. No one ever thought it would happen, perhaps, other than Robert Kennedy some 40-some years ago said probably in 40 years we'd have a Black president. But I don't think the average white person, or Black person for that matter, thought it would ever happen. But it happened, and Black people played a big role in making that happen, because when we had someone who looked like us, we found the need to go out and vote. And we've not been given total credit for the part we played in the 2008 or 2012 election, but history will record that we had the highest percent of votes, as it should have been. Anytime there's something to do with a Black person who's trying to do the right thing, as this president is doing, I mean, he has no reason to be getting the kind of pushback he has. And as we started out, there are still some Black people who don't understand that presidents don't wave magic wands. They cannot do everything that we want them to do. But you must admit, today things are better than they were when this president became president. The unemployment has gone down. The gross national products are up. Manufacturing is up. We've got an affordable health care plan now. Many people have rights who didn't have them before. There are just so many great things happening. My brother's keeper. So we need to celebrate people like him just as we need to celebrate our Native brothers and sisters who are now saying we too are tired of this racism. We had other people help us. It was not just black people who worked for the civil rights movement, even though black people were in a majority, but there were other people who helped us to gain the rights that we have. And you know what? Many of them who are not black are enjoying the fruits of what black people did.
That's true. Like, I will get back. Now we talk about political football. I want to get back to the Obama thing. I think it's fascinating because I've been having these conversations with people over the last several weeks, especially after Ferguson. And my thing, the conclusion I came to, yes, he cannot wave a magic wand. But I think in this period where everybody who's getting stuff are well organized, they're well financed, and somehow black folks, we haven't figured out the blueprint or how to apply it to our advantage in this period. Because really, I think this is a wasted opportunity. I think history will show that we was the ones not organized and demanding things from the powers that be. It was, like you said, just not Obama got to do it by himself. But you look at the women, white women, the gays, the Latinos, everybody who's getting stuff out of this administration, they're well organized and they finance stuff. They put their money where their mouth is.
Well, I hope this is a lesson to us, the importance of unity and not putting each other down or finding fault with what even the president is doing. This was our big opportunity to be in unity, to work in cooperation with other groups. I still do a lot of work with women's groups, and I try to get them to understand that many of the rights they have came out of the civil rights movement.
Of course.
White women before the civil rights movement could not be bus drivers or police chiefs or heads of prisons around the country. They could not be mayors of cities. So they have gained a lot, and I don't fail to remind them of that. I don't do it in a mean-spirited way, but just as a reminder. The other day I had an opportunity to speak at a college, and these young people were asking very good questions, and I was able to explain how the civil rights movement helped them, even if they were Asian American, women, Latinos, Native Americans, Black Americans, people with disabilities. Many of the rights they have today, they have them because of people like Dick Gregory and others who risked their lives in the civil rights movement, and they got it. They understood it.
Wow. And I also want to ask you, I think it's interesting, you talk about the Redskins name, and you know, you're talking about black folks very passionate. I wish black people were as passionate about politics and organizers as we are about sports. But just getting back to the Confederate flag, I remember when Mississippi had a recall vote on the Confederate, using, I guess, part of the Confederate flag in their flag. I think South Carolina did too. I think both of them did.
Yes.
And black folks came out, but you know, a lot of black folks wanted to keep the flag. And you, truth be told, I mean, that Confederate flag is a part of our history because you had a lot of black Confederates. You had black Confederate soldiers that were in service during the Civil War before the Union employed black Union soldiers. I mean, Stonewall Jackson had black soldiers. I mean, and you look at Missouri, where we got all this trouble with police brutality, you had the Quantrill Raiders, or Jesse James, and all them guys, Bloody Bill Anderson, they was riding side by side by black Confederate soldiers who wanted to be in part of the Confederate Army. Now, you had some black folks that did not want to be in service, but you also had black folks that owned slaves, and they was a part of the Confederacy.
Okay, and what did all of that get us? I think that's the important question. If we did all of this work with and for white people, why do we not have so many of the privileges that white people have today?
That's a good question.
We were used to do things, and we did not understand that it was important for us. If we had all of those skills, we needed to be using those skills to build our own community. You can't help other people until you have your own strength, and I think that's where the mistake was made. We helped everybody else to get, and we're the ones who didn't get. So it's now time for us to look at all of the people who have benefited from the civil rights movement, for us to work with them and help them to understand how they got where they are. And we can't progress by just sitting back and criticizing what goes on. We have to get up every morning and be ready to meet the mule on Monday morning, and on Sunday too if necessary. You know, a lot of us look at prayer, and prayer is good. I'm a minister. I have a doctor of theology, but I know that when you get through praying, you got to get up off your knees and you got to go to work. And I think that's where some of us have misunderstood, is that we just pray for things and they never happen because we don't do the requisite work to get what we need. And we also have to look at not hoarding things that we get, but look at sharing it with other people. We've always shared it with other races. We've given our skills to them. We've helped them build their stores, helped them build their communities. We voted for them. We voted for the lesser of two evils. Since I can remember, even before I could vote, I knew that term. Well, we're voting for the lesser of two evils. But why can't we vote for the lesser of two evils of some black people sometime who understand what we are going through, what we have been through, and what we have given to build this nation?
I thought, okay, I appreciate all that. I guess it's gonna be interesting. Like, what's it gonna take, you think, from a legal point of view to get this change? I mean, is it gonna be a legal fight with this Redskin name change, or what does it take, you feel like, as far as the process?
I think the players themselves can do a lot to help, because if they don't go out there on every Sunday and make all this money for people like Snyder, while Snyder is vowing to continue to disregard what the Native Americans are asking for and rightly deserve. I think they can start off with protests themselves, whether it's they wear armbands for other causes, they wear, shoestrings or some symbol to say I'm with you. They can do that, or they can go and play for teams that don't discriminate against people or are not denigrating a whole race of people. I think there are a few athletes who have done some really good things, but I look at some and I think all the power they have that they don't use. I know that I graduated from Grambling State University, and we have lots of athletes. And even if just the athletes from Grambling University would decide to join some kind of protest, I think it would be very meaningful, be very helpful. I would hope that they wouldn't have to do it alone, but just look at all of the black players on teams that came from black schools, from historically black schools. If just that small group got together and said one Sunday, okay, we're going to wear something that said, no Redskins, or no denigration to the Native Americans, or stop, change the name. They don't even have to say what. Everybody would know what they're talking about. Use the phrase, change the name. I think that would be a big demonstration. But I find that racists don't understand anything but economics. And we can also, we can't put it all on the athletes. We can stop going to the games. Now, I know we're not the majority of the people there, but we sure the cheerleaders, and we have those tailgating parties and all. And we're
buy the jerseys and everything.
Yes, buy those jerseys. We are contributing to that economy of the Redskins when we do that for anyone. And you know what? The owners of those other teams will then begin to say to Snyder, okay, buddy, you're costing us now. And one thing, as I said, white people and racists, and I'm not calling all white people racist, but one thing they do understand is the mighty dollar. And when we can impact that dollar, and we can, then they will understand. Okay, we can also state that we don't want them in our town. We don't, we can come out, we can vote. There are just many things that we can do if we decide to get together and do it. But unfortunately, our division in our community is what keeps us from having the corner store, keeps us from having that clothing store, the car dealers, the whatever. We have a few, but we don't have nearly enough because we don't cooperate. Too often we feel that old saying, we think the white man's ice is colder. And some of us know it's not, because we've experienced all kinds of things. If you look at Dick Gregory came out of an era where many people did bow down just because somebody was white, But that Mr. Gregory, of course, was not one of those people. It's obvious. He's on your show often. And you know that his theory is, when you don't agree with something, you take action. You speak out against it. You march. You protest. You stop buying from that company. His list and mine is so long of people, in companies that we don't deal with, that I'll tell you, I'll need some extra paper to write them all down. Because anytime we know about a company that's not treating someone right, that it's inhumane, it doesn't have to be just against black people. We stood against British Petroleum during that oil spill down in Louisiana, and we've continued to do it. And they have spent a whole lot of money on public relations trying to rebuild their image, because we, Mr. Gregory, a gentleman by the name of Art Rocker, and I went all over this country. We even went to London, England, to talk to people from BP and to explain to people why BP we should not be using them. We should not be dealing with them. Now, unfortunately, what we see is that BP has put up a whole lot of gasoline stations in our community.
Right.
We don't see them in other communities. And as long as we go there, we are contributing to the problem that people who were damaged by BP have. Many of those people have not yet been repaid for the damage that was done to them. So we're contributing to our own demise, our own downfall when we go to that station. Now, British Petroleum is not the only one. Walmart is another one. You know, sometimes you can't beat folks, people who can hardly walk.
Right, they go Walmart.
Walking on those canes, they can be running to get into Walmart while we're standing out there in the cold saying they do not treat their workers fairly. Now, if everybody understood the meaning of that, they're not treating their workers fairly. That means your grandma, your aunt, your sister, your whatever, that you are affected. And if you would just stand with us and say, we're not going to buy from Walmart until they pay their people fairly, that they treat them fairly, we could resolve that problem. We could get that living wage for people who work at places like Walmart. And they're not the only ones. I remember when Trayvon Martin was killed, there were many companies that were supporting that American Legislative Exchange, and we were trying to get them to understand that the more they supported that council, which was sponsoring all that legislation that kept Zimmerman from being convicted, that stand your ground and all that kind of stuff in Florida, that was hurting our people. And so if you're dealing with those companies, you're contributing to the problem. So don't start yelling and screaming and crying about racism if you're not willing to do your part. We were able to impact many companies have fallen off from A.L.L simply because people were not doing business with them. And that's what I go back to. It's the economy. It's the economy. When you impact the economy in this country, you can make a difference. I started to talk about State Farm, for example. I had had State Farm insurance ever since I had a car years ago. And when I learned that they were part of A.L.L, I just switched to another insurance company. We have choices. And I talked with the people in my condominium association. They dropped State Farm just because I asked them and I told them the story. So they got another insurance company. If more of us did that, we could impact this economy, and that would have an impact on what happens to us and our people.
You know what I was thinking about when you said the Walmart boycott? Even what happened to that brother in Ohio, John Crawford, getting shot at police at Walmart. That should have been a woke-up call. But it's like the Haile Selassie when he spoke at the League of Nations. He said when they invaded Ethiopia, he said, like, basically today us, but tomorrow you. Like, people are so disconnected now because they have too many options, it seems. Like in the movement, 50 years ago, options were kind of limited with Jim Crow and all this other stuff. But since we got all these plethora of opportunities and options, people are not really on that one accord when it comes to anything, especially violation of human rights.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we took it the wrong way when we were allowed to leave our little black places, which were the only ones we could go to at one time. We thought that meant instead of our building our own, inviting others to come and to do business with us, we thought it meant giving up our businesses and our places and going to them. And that's where we lost. So now we're supporting an economy that doesn't support us.
Wow, that's deep. Well, Sister Dr. Faye Williams, it's an honor to talk to you. I look forward to many more conversations. Do you have any closing thoughts you want to share?
Well, I just want to say that we can make a difference, but we have to understand that it is through our struggles that we gain our victories. Nothing comes easy to us, but that's no excuse for us not to have things, because we have the power. We have the political power. We have the economic power. We've just got to learn to use it, and we've got to stop holding things against people who may have done one thing wrong in their lives and then decide that we're not going to deal with them. We're not going to work with them. If they are working for our best interest, then we ought to be standing there supporting them no matter what they have done. We should be the ones. We forgive everybody else. We just don't forgive ourselves. And we've got to get to that if we're ever going to progress.
That's powerful. Also, I thought about it because you said that Mr. Marshall, who used to own the Redskins, was forced to integrate his team by a politician. Have there been any politicians on any side of the aisle, or whatever, that have been in support of getting the name change done?
Well, Congressman Keith Ellis is from Minnesota, and I am told that he will be at the march on Sunday.
Excellent.
So that's a kind
great.
of support. There will be other members of Congress whose name I do not know at the time, but who've indicated they will participate in the demonstration on Sunday. Perhaps that'll be our next conversation. I can tell you how many of us were there supporting this cause, which we should all be. But even if we can't be in Minnesota, we can certainly be in prayer. We can be speaking out wherever we are about the need to change the name from the Washington Redskins to, as I suggested, if you just can't find a name, the Washington Obamas would be just fine with me.
I appreciate it. In the words of the great Washingtonian Duke Ellington, we love you madly, Dr. Faye Williams.
Thank you.
And keep on keeping on. Keep producing and pushing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.